Question 1. Which of the following would not typically require pre-use approval by a registered principal under FINRA Rule 2210? A. Retail communication disseminated to 25 or more retail investors within any 30 calendar day period. B. Correspondence sent to a single retail investor. C. Institutional communication sent only to institutional investors. D. Public appearance by a registered representative where content is not pre-approved. Answer: C. Institutional communication sent only to institutional investors. Explanation: under FINRA Rule 2210, institutional communications are generally exempt from pre-use principal approval if they are sent only to institutional investors. However, firms must still establish supervisory procedures for reviewing these communications, and principals must be vigilant for red flags. Retail communications, public appearances, unless content is pre-approved by a principal, and certain correspondence generally require principal review and approval. The key takeaway is understanding the different categories of communications and their respective supervisory requirements. Question 2. A registered representative informs his broker-dealer that he plans to sell investment-related seminars to high-net-worth individuals outside of his firm. This activity will involve soliciting new clients and receiving compensation directly from attendees. Under FINRA Rule 3270 and 3280, what is the firm's primary obligation regarding this activity? The firm must prohibit the activity if it is investment-related. B. The firm must approve the activity, and it must be entered on the firm's books and records as a private securities transaction. C. The firm must document the approval, allow the representative to proceed, but only treat it as an outside business activity, OBA. D. The firm must review the activity, and if it involves soliciting new clients and receiving compensation, it must be treated as a private securities transaction and require firm approval and supervision. Answer: D. The firm must review the activity, and if it involves soliciting new clients and receiving compensation, it must be treated as a private securities transaction and require firm approval and supervision. Explanation: when a registered representative is involved in selling investment-related seminars, especially if it involves soliciting new clients and receiving compensation, it likely falls under FINRA Rule 3280 regarding private securities transactions, PSTs, not merely an outside business activity, OBA, under Rule 3270. If the firm approves the PST, it must record the transaction on its books and supervise the representative's participation as if the transaction were executed by the firm. If the firm disapproves, the representative cannot participate. The critical distinction is the investment-related nature and compensation, which elevates it beyond a simple OBA. Question 3. Which of the following is an example of an exempt reporting advisor, ERA, under SEC Release IA 3221, typically not subject to full SEC registration but still requiring some reporting? A. An advisor solely to venture capital funds. B. An advisor with more than $100 million in assets under management, AUM. C. An advisor who provides only financial planning to individuals. D. An advisor to a private fund with more than $150 million in AUM. Answer: A. An advisor solely to venture capital funds. Explanation: exempt reporting advisors, ERAs, include advisors solely to venture capital funds and advisors to private funds with less than $150 million in assets under management, AUM, in the U.S. These advisors are not required to register with the SEC but must still file a partial Form ADV. Advisors with more than $100 million, or $110 million for states with specific laws, AUM are generally SEC registered, and financial planners to individuals typically fall under state registration unless they meet SEC AUM thresholds. The key takeaway is understanding the specific exemptions available from full SEC registration for investment advisors. With the revision of Option D, to refer to a private fund with more than $150 million in AUM, it no longer qualifies as an ERA, making an advisor solely to venture capital funds, A. The unique correct answer. Question 4. A principal observes that a registered representative consistently recommends a particular mutual fund family to all clients, regardless of their stated investment objectives or risk tolerance. This behavior raises concerns about potential A. Churning. B. Reverse churning. C. Breakpoint selling. D. Suitability violations. Answer: D. Suitability violations. Explanation: consistently recommending the same product to all clients, irrespective of their individual profiles, is a classic indication of a suitability violation. Suitability requires that recommendations be appropriate for a customer's specific investment objectives, risk tolerance, and financial situation. Churning involves excessive trading to generate commissions, while reverse churning is charging advisory fees to inactive accounts. Breakpoint selling relates to failing to inform clients of mutual fund discounts based on investment size. A principal must ensure that representatives conduct due diligence on both the client and the recommended product to ensure proper alignment. Question 5. Under FINRA Rule 3110, which of the following statements regarding the inspection of a registered broker-dealer's offices is most accurate? A. All registered branch offices must be inspected annually. B. Offices of supervisory jurisdiction (OSJs) and supervisory branch offices must be inspected annually. C. All non-supervisory branch offices may be inspected on a regular, periodic cycle, which must be at least once every 3 years. D. Residential supervisory locations are exempt from regular inspection requirements. Answer B. Offices of supervisory jurisdiction (OSJs) and supervisory branch offices must be inspected annually. Explanation: FINRA Rule 3110 mandates that offices of supervisory jurisdiction (OSJs) and any branch office that supervises one or more non-branch locations must be inspected annually. All other branch offices must be inspected at least once every 3 years. Residential supervisory locations are subject to the same inspection requirements as other supervisory locations. This rule emphasizes the critical role of the principal in ensuring that all supervisory functions and procedures are regularly reviewed and confirmed to be effective. Question 6. A broker-dealer's anti-money laundering (AML) compliance program must be approved in writing by which of the following? A. The firm's chief financial officer (CFO). B. The firm's independent auditor. C. A member of the firm's senior management. D. FINRA's Department of Enforcement. Answer: C. A member of the firm's senior management. Explanation: a broker-dealer's anti-money laundering (AML) compliance program must be approved in writing by a member of the firm's senior management. This ensures that the program has the necessary commitment and resources from the highest levels of the organization. Furthermore, the firm must designate an AML compliance officer responsible for implementing and monitoring the program, and an independent test of the program must be conducted annually. This requirement highlights the critical importance of a robust AML program in preventing financial crime. Question 7. Under FINRA rules, what is the maximum gift value per person per year that a registered representative may give to a client or person associated with another member firm, without requiring firm pre-approval or special record keeping? A. $50. B. $100. C. $250. D. $1,000. Answer: B. $100. Explanation: FINRA Rule 3220 generally limits gifts given by a member or associated person to any person, including clients or employees of other member firms, to $100 per person per year. Gifts exceeding this amount are generally prohibited or require specific firm policies and record keeping. This rule is designed to prevent undue influence and maintain fair business practices. Principals must ensure that representatives are aware of and comply with this limitation to avoid potential ethical and regulatory violations. Question 8. A principal is reviewing a research report prepared by a firm's equity analyst. Which of the following statements regarding the content of this research report is most accurate under FINRA Rule 2241? A. The report must disclose all investment banking relationships the firm has with the subject company, regardless of their materiality. B. The report must clearly disclose any material conflicts of interest, including the firm's or analyst's ownership of the subject company's securities. C. The report may recommend an investment without providing a reasonable basis for the recommendation if it is clearly labeled as an opinion. D. The report is prohibited from including price targets for the subject company's stock. Answer: B. The report must clearly disclose any material conflicts of interest, including the firm's or analyst's ownership of the subject company's securities. Explanation: FINRA Rule 2241, Research Analysts and Research Reports, requires clear disclosure of any material conflicts of interest in a research report. This includes but is not limited to the firm's or analyst's ownership of the subject company's securities, and any investment banking relationships within specific timeframes. All recommendations must have a reasonable basis, and price targets are permissible if they have a reasonable basis and include disclosure of valuation methods and risks. Principals must meticulously review research reports to ensure compliance with these disclosure and fairness requirements. Question 9. A broker-dealer engages in proprietary trading. Which of the following individuals is required to be registered as a Series 24 General Securities Principal? A registered representative who primarily solicits retail customers for equity trades. B. An individual whose primary responsibility involves managing and supervising the firm's proprietary trading desk. C. A limited representative who only sells mutual funds and variable annuities. D. A back-office operations manager who handles trade settlement and reconciliation but has no supervisory responsibilities over sales or trading personnel. Answer: B. An individual whose primary responsibility involves managing and supervising the firm's proprietary trading desk. Explanation: a Series 24 General Securities Principal is required for individuals who manage or supervise the business of a broker-dealer, including its officers, partners, or managers who are responsible for overseeing the firm's investment banking or securities business. An individual managing and supervising a proprietary trading desk would fall squarely under these supervisory responsibilities. Registered representatives, limited representatives, and purely operational staff without supervisory authority over sales or trading are not typically required to hold the Series 24. This ensures that critical areas of a broker-dealer's business are overseen by qualified principals. Question 10. Which of the following describes the primary role of the Chief Compliance Officer, CCO, in a broker-dealer? A. To generate revenue by leading the firm's sales force. B. To manage the firm's financial assets and liabilities. C. To ensure the firm's compliance with securities laws, regulations, and internal policies. D. To represent the firm in legal disputes and litigations. Answer: C. To ensure the firm's compliance with securities laws, regulations, and internal policies. Explanation: the Chief Compliance Officer, CCO, is primarily responsible for ensuring that the firm maintains compliance with all applicable securities laws, regulations, and internal firm policies and procedures. This includes developing, implementing, and enforcing the firm's written supervisory procedures, WSPs, and ensuring that the firm's supervisory system is effective. While other roles handle revenue generation, financial management, or legal representation, the CCO's focus is squarely on regulatory adherence and risk mitigation. This role is fundamental to maintaining a strong compliance culture within the firm. Question 11. A registered representative requests to engage in an outside business activity, OBA, where they will serve as an unpaid board member for a local charity. Under FINRA Rule 3270, what is the firm's obligation? A. The firm must prohibit the activity if it is outside the scope of their employment. B. The firm must provide prompt written notice to the registered representative that their request has been approved. C. The firm must receive written notice from the registered representative and is generally required to record it, but approval is not necessarily required for uncompensated activities. D. The firm must treat this as a private securities transaction because it is outside the firm's regular business. Answer: C. The firm must receive written notice from the registered representative and is generally required to record it, but approval is not necessarily required for uncompensated activities. Explanation: FINRA Rule 3270 requires registered representatives to provide prior written notice to their firm regarding any outside business activity. While firms must record this information, they are not typically required to approve uncompensated OBAs, although they may impose conditions or prohibit the activity. If compensation were involved, the firm would need to evaluate whether to approve the activity and, if it is investment-related, treat it as a private securities transaction. The key takeaway for principals is to ensure proper notification and documentation for all OBAs. Question 12. A broker-dealer receives a written customer complaint alleging misappropriation of funds. What is the firm's primary obligation regarding this complaint? A. Forward the complaint to FINRA immediately for investigation. B. Attempt to resolve the complaint directly with the customer without involving regulatory bodies. C. Report the complaint to FINRA as required by Rule 4530. investigate the matter promptly and retain records of the complaint and its resolution. D. Inform the customer that all disputes must be settled through arbitration. Answer: C. Report the complaint to FINRA as required by Rule 4530, investigate the matter promptly and retain records of the complaint and its resolution. Explanation: Under FINRA Rule 4530, a broker-dealer must report written customer complaints alleging certain serious misconduct, such as misappropriation of funds, to FINRA within 30 calendar days of the firm learning of the complaint. The firm also has an ongoing obligation to promptly investigate the matter and maintain all records related to the complaint and its resolution. While attempting to resolve the complaint is part of the process, regulatory reporting and internal investigation are paramount. The principal's role is to ensure proper handling, investigation, and reporting of all customer complaints. Question 13. Which of the following is not considered a new issue for purposes of FINRA Rule 5130, restrictions on the purchase and sale of initial public offerings? A. An initial public offering of common stock. B. A secondary offering of common stock already trading on an exchange. C. An initial public offering of convertible preferred stock. D. An initial public offering of warrants. Answer: B. A secondary offering of common stock already trading on an exchange. Explanation: FINRA Rule 5130 generally restricts the purchase and sale of new issues (IPOs) by certain restricted persons. A new issue is defined as any initial public offering of an equity security. A secondary offering of common stock that is already trading on an exchange is not considered a new issue under this rule because it is not an initial offering. The rule is designed to ensure that new issues are offered to the public and not withheld for the benefit of industry insiders. Principals must ensure strict adherence to this rule to prevent prohibited allocations. Question 14. A broker-dealer firm is developing its written supervisory procedures, WSPs. Which of the following is the most accurate statement regarding the content and purpose of WSPs? A. WSPs primarily serve as guidelines for firm profitability and market strategy. B. WSPs must be tailored to the firm's specific business activities and address all relevant FINRA rules and federal securities laws. C. WSPs are optional for firms with fewer than 10 registered representatives. D. WSPs only need to cover sales practices and do not need to address operational or administrative functions. Answer: B. WSPs must be tailored to the firm's specific business activities and address all relevant FINRA rules and federal securities laws. Explanation: Written supervisory procedures, WSPs, are a critical component of a broker-dealer's compliance system. They must be tailored to the firm's specific business and address all applicable FINRA rules and federal securities laws, covering all areas of the firm's operations. WSPs are not optional and must be reasonably designed to achieve compliance. Their primary purpose is to outline the procedures for supervising the activities of registered representatives and other associated persons to ensure adherence to regulatory requirements and ethical standards. Principals are responsible for establishing, maintaining, and enforcing these procedures. Question 15. An introducing broker-dealer executes trades through a clearing firm. Which entity is generally responsible for sending confirmations to customers and maintaining custody of customer funds and securities? A. The introducing broker-dealer. B. The clearing firm. C. Both firms with shared responsibility. D. The customer's investment advisor. Answer: B. The clearing firm. Explanation: In a fully disclosed clearing arrangement, the clearing firm is typically responsible for executing trades, maintaining custody of customer funds and securities, and sending confirmations and statements directly to customers. The introducing broker-dealer generally handles the customer relationship, takes orders, and provides recommendations. This division of labor allows the introducing firm to focus on sales and service while the clearing firm manages the back-office functions and associated regulatory responsibilities for custody and confirmations. Principals at both firms must understand their respective roles and responsibilities in such an arrangement. Question 16. Which of the following scenarios would require a broker-dealer to file a suspicious activity report, SAR? A. A customer makes a large cash deposit slightly below the $10,000 threshold for currency transaction reports, CTRs, and indicates a desire to avoid government scrutiny. B. A customer routinely makes withdrawals of less than $3,000 to cover daily living expenses. C. A customer sends a wire transfer to a known charity organization. D. A customer opens a new account and provides all required identification documents without hesitation. Answer: A. A customer makes a large cash deposit slightly below the $10,000 threshold for currency transaction reports (CTRs) and indicates a desire to avoid government scrutiny. Explanation: a broker-dealer must file a suspicious activity report (SAR) with FinCEN if it becomes aware of a transaction or series of transactions that involve at least $5,000 in funds or other assets, and the firm knows, suspects, or has reason to suspect that the transaction involves funds derived from illegal activity, is designed to evade Bank Secrecy Act requirements, or has no apparent lawful purpose. The scenario described, known as structuring, where a customer tries to avoid detection by staying below reporting thresholds while expressing a desire to avoid scrutiny, is a strong indicator of suspicious activity. Principals must ensure robust AML programs are in place to detect and report such activities. Question 17. Under FINRA rules, what is the primary purpose of a designated supervising principal for each office of supervisory jurisdiction (OSJ)? A. To serve as the primary contact for all customer complaints at the firm. B. To oversee all aspects of the broker-dealer's financial and accounting operations. C. To assume overall supervisory responsibility for the activities of the OSJ and the associated persons assigned to it. D. To act as the firm's liaison with the media and public. Answer: C. To assume overall supervisory responsibility for the activities of the OSJ and the associated persons assigned to it. Explanation: each Office of Supervisory Jurisdiction (OSJ) must have a designated principal who has overall supervisory responsibility for the activities of that OSJ and the associated persons assigned to it. This principle is critical for ensuring that the firm's written supervisory procedures are implemented and followed effectively within that specific branch. This requirement ensures accountability and dedicated oversight for the firm's various business activities and is a cornerstone of FINRA's supervisory framework. Principals must be actively engaged in supervising their assigned locations and personnel. Question 18. A broker-dealer is participating in a private placement offering. Which of the following statements regarding general solicitation and advertising is most accurate under Regulation D Rule 506(c)? A. General solicitation and advertising are strictly prohibited in all Regulation D offerings. B. General solicitation and advertising are permitted, provided all purchasers are accredited investors and the issuer takes reasonable steps to verify their accredited investor status. C. General solicitation is allowed only if the offering is registered with the SEC. D. General solicitation is permitted, but only institutional investors are allowed to participate. Answer: B. General solicitation and advertising are permitted, provided all purchasers are accredited investors and the issuer takes reasonable steps to verify their accredited investor status. Explanation: Regulation D Rule 506(c) permits general solicitation and advertising in private placements, provided that all purchasers are accredited investors, and the issuer takes reasonable steps to verify their accredited investor status. This differs from Rule 506(b), which prohibits general solicitation and allows up to 35 non-accredited investors. This rule allows for broader marketing of private offerings to sophisticated investors. Principals involved in private placements must ensure strict compliance with these verification requirements when utilizing Rule 506(c). Question 19. According to SEC Rule 15c3-1, Net Capital Rule, which of the following is the primary purpose of maintaining adequate net capital? A. To ensure that broker-dealers have sufficient funds to cover all customer withdrawals at any given time. B. To protect customers and other market participants by ensuring broker-dealers maintain sufficient liquid assets to meet their obligations. C. To allow broker-dealers to freely expand their operations without financial restrictions. D. To serve as a basis for calculating a broker-dealer's annual tax liability. Answer: B. To protect customers and other market participants by ensuring broker-dealers maintain sufficient liquid assets to meet their obligations. Explanation: The primary purpose of the Net Capital Rule, SEC Rule 15c3-1, is to protect customers and the broader financial markets by ensuring that broker-dealers maintain sufficient liquid assets to meet their current obligations. This rule acts as a critical safeguard against broker-dealer insolvency. While it indirectly impacts a firm's ability to operate and expand, its core focus is on financial stability and the ability to cover liabilities. Principals must understand the importance of maintaining adequate net capital and ensuring compliance with these vital financial responsibility rules. Question 20. A registered representative is terminated for cause due to a serious compliance violation. Under FINRA rules, what is the firm's obligation regarding Form U5 filing? A. The firm must file Form U5 within 30 days, providing only the date of termination. B. The firm must file Form U5 within 30 days, disclosing the reason for termination and providing details of the violation. C. The firm is only required to file Form U5 if the representative requests it. D. The firm must file Form U5 within 10 business days if the termination is for cause, including detailed reasons. Answer: D. The firm must file Form U5 within 10 business days if the termination is for cause, including detailed reasons. Explanation: If a registered representative is terminated for cause, the firm must file Form U5, Uniform Termination Notice for Securities Industry Registration, within 10 business days of the termination date. This filing must include a detailed explanation for the termination, specifically outlining the reasons for cause. If the termination is not for cause, the firm has 30 days to file. This accelerated timeline and detailed disclosure are crucial for regulatory oversight and protecting the public from individuals who have engaged in misconduct. Principals must ensure timely and accurate U5 filings. Question 21. When a broker-dealer uses the services of an affiliate for certain functions, e.g., IT compliance support, under FINRA rules, what remains the ultimate responsibility of the broker-dealer? A. The affiliate assumes all regulatory responsibility for the outsourced function. B. The broker-dealer can completely delegate its regulatory obligations to the affiliate. C. The broker-dealer retains ultimate responsibility for ensuring the outsourced functions comply with all applicable securities laws and regulations. D. FINRA only holds the affiliate accountable for compliance in such arrangements. Answer: C. The broker-dealer retains ultimate responsibility for ensuring the outsourced functions comply with all applicable securities laws and regulations. Explanation: When a broker-dealer outsources any function to an affiliate or third-party vendor, the broker-dealer retains ultimate responsibility for ensuring that the outsourced activities comply with all applicable securities laws and regulations. Delegation of a function does not equate to delegation of regulatory responsibility. The firm must supervise the affiliate's activities as it would its own. This principle is crucial for principals, as they must establish supervisory systems to monitor and control risks associated with all business activities, regardless of whether they are performed in-house or by an affiliate. Question 22. A broker-dealer receives an inquiry from FINRA regarding a specific customer complaint. What is the firm's most appropriate immediate action? A. Ignore the inquiry as it is solely the customer's responsibility to pursue the complaint. B. Inform FINRA that the customer's legal counsel must handle all communications. C. Cooperate fully and promptly with FINRA by providing all requested information and documents. D. Attempt to destroy any potentially incriminating documents before FINRA can review them. Answer: C. Cooperate fully and promptly with FINRA by providing all requested information and documents. Explanation: Broker-dealers and their associated persons have an absolute obligation under FINRA rules to cooperate fully and promptly with FINRA staff in investigations, examinations, and inquiries. This includes providing all requested information, books, records, and access to personnel. Failure to cooperate can result in severe disciplinary action. Principals must instill a culture of compliance and ensure that all employees understand the importance of regulatory cooperation. Destroying documents is illegal and would lead to severe penalties. Question 23. Which of the following activities is generally permissible for a registered representative under FINRA rules, assuming proper firm procedures and disclosures are followed? A. Executing trades in a customer's account without discretionary authority, based on their gut feeling. B. Sharing in the profits or losses of a customer's account without contributing capital or receiving prior written authorization from the customer and the firm. C. Making recommendations to customers for which they have not performed adequate due diligence on the product's risks and features. D. Referring a customer to another professional, e.g., an attorney, for non-securities related services, as long as no compensation is received for the referral. Answer: D. Referring a customer to another professional, e.g., an attorney, for non-securities related services, as long as no compensation is received for the referral. Explanation: referring customers to other professionals for non-securities related services is generally permissible, provided the representative does not receive compensation for the referral and the firm has procedures in place for such activities. The other options describe prohibited practices: unauthorized trading, exercising discretion without authority, sharing in accounts without proper authorization and capital contribution, FINRA Rule 2150, and unsuitable recommendations, lack of due diligence. Principals must ensure that representatives understand the boundaries of permissible activities and the importance of full disclosure and authorization when required. Question 24. A broker-dealer is preparing its annual AML independent test. Who can conduct this independent test? A. A member of the firm's legal department, provided they are not involved in the day-to-day operation of the AML program. B. The firm's chief compliance officer, CCO, or AML compliance officer. C. Any associated person of the firm regardless of their role. D. An individual or group that is independent of the firm's AML program, such as an independent consultant or qualified internal staff not involved in the program's daily operation. Answer: D. An individual or group that is independent of the firm's AML program, such as an independent consultant or qualified internal staff not involved in the program's daily operation. Explanation: the annual independent test of a broker-dealer's AML program must be conducted by an individual or group that is independent of the firm's AML program. This means it cannot be conducted by the AML compliance officer or anyone directly involved in the daily operation of the program. This ensures an objective review of the program's effectiveness. The independent party can be an internal auditor, an external consultant, or other qualified personnel not directly responsible for the AML program. Principals must ensure the independence and competence of the individual conducting this crucial review. Question 25. Under MSRB Rule G27, Supervision, which of the following is not a required supervisory element for a municipal securities dealer? A. Designating a municipal securities principal for each office that conducts municipal securities business. B. Requiring annual compliance meetings for all registered representatives. C. Conducting annual inspections of all offices that conduct municipal securities business. D. Establishing and maintaining a system for reviewing incoming and outgoing written correspondence relating to municipal securities. Answer: C. Conducting annual inspections of all offices that conduct municipal securities business. Explanation: MSRB Rule G27, like FINRA Rule 3110, requires municipal securities dealers to establish and maintain a system of supervision. This includes designating municipal securities principals, establishing WSPs, conducting annual compliance meetings, and reviewing correspondence. However, MSRB G27 does not specifically require annual inspections of all municipal securities offices. It generally aligns with FINRA 3110's tiered approach, e.g., annual for OSJs/supervisory branches, triennially for others. Therefore, the blanket, annual inspection of all offices is not accurate. Principals must be aware of the specific nuances of MSRB rules as they relate to supervision. Question 26. A principal is reviewing a potential new hire's Form U-4. Which of the following disclosures on the U-4 would automatically disqualify an individual from becoming a registered representative without the possibility of a waiver? A misdemeanor conviction for a non-securities related offense less than 10 years ago. B. A regulatory finding of a minor rule violation by a self-regulatory organization, SRO, within the last 5 years. C. A felony conviction for securities fraud within the last 10 years. D. A customer complaint alleging unsuitability that was settled for under $15,000. Answer: C. A felony conviction for securities fraud within the last 10 years. Explanation: a felony conviction for securities fraud within the last 10 years would result in a statutory disqualification, meaning the individual is automatically barred from being a registered representative unless FINRA grants an eligibility waiver. Misdemeanors for non-securities related offenses, minor SRO rule violations, or settled customer complaints typically do not result in automatic statutory disqualification, though they must be disclosed and could raise concerns. Principals must be diligent in reviewing U4 disclosures and understanding the implications of statutory disqualifications. A waiver process is available for certain statutory disqualifications, but it is not guaranteed. Question 27. Regarding the supervision of electronic communications, e.g., emails, instant messages, by a broker-dealer, which statement is most accurate? A. Only emails sent to retail customers require supervision. B. All business-related electronic communications, regardless of the device or platform used, must be supervised and retained. C. Supervision is only required for communications sent from firm-issued devices. D. Instant messages do not require supervision if they are deleted immediately after sending. Answer: B. All business-related electronic communications, regardless of the device or platform used, must be supervised and retained. Explanation: FINRA rules require that all business-related electronic communications, including emails and instant messages, regardless of the device, firm-issued or personal, or platform used, firm-approved or unapproved, must be supervised and retained. Firms must have WSPs to capture, review, and retain these communications to ensure compliance with suitability, advertising, and other regulatory requirements. Deleting communications does not negate the retention or supervision requirement. Principals are responsible for implementing technology and procedures to adequately supervise and archive all relevant electronic communications. Question 28. A broker-dealer's firm element continuing education program must be delivered. A. Only to registered representatives who have passed their initial qualification exams within the last 2 years. B. Annually to all covered registered persons, based on a needs analysis and covering relevant regulatory and ethical standards. C. Only when mandated by FINRA or other regulatory authorities. D. Every 3 years coinciding with the regulatory element requirement. Answer: B. Annually to all covered registered persons, based on a needs analysis and covering relevant regulatory and ethical standards. Explanation: the firm element of continuing education, CE, requires broker-dealers to annually assess the training needs of their covered registered persons and develop a written training plan. This plan must deliver training on topics relevant to the registered person's business activities, including regulatory, compliance, and ethical standards. It is a mandatory annual requirement for all covered registered persons, separate from the regulatory element. Principals must ensure the firm element training is relevant, effective, and delivered as required. Question 29. Which of the following is an example of market manipulation that a principal should be vigilant in detecting and preventing? A. A broker-dealer facilitating a legitimate block trade for a large institutional client. B. A group of traders coordinating to buy and sell a thinly traded stock among themselves to create a false appearance of active trading, wash sales/matched orders. C. An analyst issuing a buy rating based on thorough research and legitimate financial models. D. A firm engaging in passive market making in an IPO as permitted by Regulation M. Answer: B. A group of traders coordinating to buy and sell a thinly traded stock among themselves to create a false appearance of active trading, wash sales/matched orders. Explanation: market manipulation involves intentionally distorting the true supply or demand for a security to deceive investors. The scenario described, where traders coordinate to create a false appearance of trading activity, is a classic example of market manipulation, specifically wash sales or matched orders. These activities are prohibited by securities laws and FINRA rules. Legitimate block trading, well-researched analyst ratings, and permitted passive market making are not manipulative. Principals must implement surveillance systems and supervisory procedures to detect and prevent such illicit trading practices. Question 30. A broker-dealer participates in an initial public offering IPO as an underwriter. Under FINRA Rule 5130, which of the following restricted persons would be permitted to purchase shares in the IPO? A. A registered representative of the underwriting broker-dealer. B. A portfolio manager of a mutual fund that has invested in the IPO as part of its regular investment strategy, provided certain conditions are met. C. An immediate family member of a registered representative who is supported by the representative and invests through the representative's employing firm. D. A finder for the IPO who receives a fee for the transaction. Answer B. A portfolio manager of a mutual fund that has invested in the IPO as part of its regular investment strategy, provided certain conditions are met. Explanation. FINRA Rule 5130 generally prohibits restricted persons from purchasing shares in an IPO. However, there are specific exemptions. One key exemption applies to certain accounts or funds with broad ownership, such as a mutual fund investing in the IPO, provided the fund is not primarily owned by restricted persons, and the purchases are for investment purposes. Registered representatives, their immediate family members under certain conditions, and finders receiving fees are typically restricted. Principals must understand the complexities of restricted persons and available exemptions to ensure compliant IPO allocations. Question 31. What is the primary objective of FINRA's Code of Procedure? A. To establish rules governing communications with the public. B. To define the capital requirements for broker-dealers. C. To describe the process for handling disciplinary actions against member firms and associated persons. D. To outline the process for resolving monetary disputes between members and customers through arbitration. Answer C. To describe the process for handling disciplinary actions against member firms and associated persons. Explanation. FINRA's Code of Procedure outlines the formal process for handling disciplinary actions against member firms and their associated persons who are alleged to have violated FINRA rules or federal securities laws. It covers procedures for investigations, complaints, hearings, appeals, and sanctions. While FINRA also has rules for communications, capital, and arbitration, the Code of Procedure specifically governs disciplinary processes. Principals should be familiar with this code to understand how regulatory violations are addressed within the industry. Question 32. Under FINRA Rule 4511, how long must a broker-dealer generally retain records related to customer accounts, such as new account forms, order tickets, and confirmations? A. 3 years. B. 5 years. C. 6 years. D. Lifetime. Answer C. 6 years. Explanation. FINRA Rule 4511, along with SEC Rule 17A3 and 17A4, generally requires broker-dealers to retain most customer account records, including new account forms, order tickets, and confirmations, for a period of 6 years. Some records, like articles of incorporation and partnership agreements, must be retained for the life of the firm, while others have shorter retention periods. This comprehensive record-keeping requirement is crucial for regulatory oversight, investigations, and demonstrating compliance. Principals must establish robust record retention policies and systems to meet these obligations. Question 33. A principal observes that a registered representative is making personal use of non-public, material information obtained through their employment to trade securities. This action constitutes A. Front-running. B. Insider trading. C. Painting the tape. D. Market manipulation. Answer B. Insider trading. Explanation. Using non-public, material information obtained through employment to trade securities for personal gain is the definition of insider trading. This is a severe violation of securities laws and FINRA rules, as it undermines the fairness and integrity of the markets. Front-running involves trading ahead of a customer's order, while painting the tape and market manipulation involve creating a false appearance of activity or price movement. Principals must have strict policies, surveillance, and training programs to detect and prevent insider trading and ensure the ethical conduct of all associated persons. Question 34. A broker-dealer receives an order from a customer who wishes to purchase shares of a thinly traded stock. The principal supervising the representative must ensure that the representative has fulfilled their obligation regarding A. Only accepting orders for stocks listed on major exchanges. B. Determining the customer's financial ability to purchase the shares. C. Performing reasonable due diligence to understand the security and its risks, and ensuring the recommendation, if any, is suitable for the customer. D. Obtaining a signed waiver from the customer acknowledging the risks of thinly traded stocks. Answer C. Performing reasonable due diligence to understand the security and its risks, and ensuring the recommendation, if any, is suitable for the customer. Explanation. Before recommending any security, especially a thinly traded or complex one, a registered representative must perform reasonable due diligence to understand the product and its risks. If the customer initiates an unsolicited order, the firm still has a reasonable basis suitability obligation to ensure the security is not completely inappropriate for any investor. The principal's role is to ensure the representative understands this obligation and that the firm's supervisory procedures require proper due diligence and suitability assessments for all recommendations. While financial ability is part of suitability, understanding the security itself is paramount. There is no requirement for a signed waiver for thinly traded stocks. Question 35. Under MSRB Rule G10, what is a municipal securities dealer obligated to provide to a customer at or before the time of the customer's first municipal securities transaction? A. A copy of the firm's most recent audited financial statements. B. An official statement for the specific municipal security being purchased. C. A disclosure document that includes the MSRB website address and an explanation that the customer may obtain a brochure describing the protections available under MSRB rules. D. A detailed explanation of the municipal bond's credit rating and tax implications. Answer: C. A disclosure document that includes the MSRB website address and an explanation that the customer may obtain a brochure describing the protections available under MSRB rules. Explanation: MSRB Rule G10 requires municipal securities dealers to provide a disclosure document to customers at or before the time of their first municipal securities transaction. This document must include the MSRB website address and a statement that the customer may obtain a brochure describing the protections available under MSRB rules. This ensures customers are aware of their rights and resources. While official statements and explanations of credit ratings/tax implications are important, they are not the specific, overarching requirement of MSRB Rule G10 for initial transactions. Principals must ensure this initial disclosure is consistently provided.